This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
There he is, locked and loaded and ready to go. How you feeling, baby? You feeling good?
I'm good. Oh, how you feeling?
I can't complain. Colonoscopy and all. Yes, clean bill of health.
Everything's clean in there.
Yeah, bro. He told me you don't have to come back for 5 years.
Hey, that's good.
And
that's
so,
good.
But I screwed up. I screwed up because you're supposed to do it when you get to 50. And I'm almost 57. I'll be 57 October 1st. So we're only a couple months away. I'm closer to 57, 56. And I want to encourage people out there that, go get it. And by the way, I'm an idiot because I just thought of, the uncomfortableness, the embarrassing. It just seems like a really, kind of an uncomfortable checkup. Out of all checkups, that's the one checkup that you just, I just want you to know it is the most professional, decent, very, 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 very clean way of doing things that you don't even realize it. You don't know it. It's just, they've got it down to a science that is awesome. So I encourage, especially you're too young, Cam.
I was about to say, so I hear this, and I'm sure you're right about all these things, and I encourage everybody who needs to go do it to do it. But I still am going to be very uncomfortable with the idea of something going up my,
I get it. I get it.
So
totally
I
understand.
won't ever get past that.
Having a camera in our ass. I get it. I get it. A camera in your ass is not something that you look forward to, but I'm just telling you that it's the most simplest thing. And you're going to, after the experience, you're going to go, really, dude, I put this off for that. That's just dumb.
I think you're probably right, but I don't believe you.
I know, but trust me. And by the time you got to do it, they'll probably make it even easier for you. Because I didn't have to.
I can't wait. I hope they don't even have to go in. They can just scan me with a picture and be like, good.
They might be able to do. They might be able to do with MRIs or some crap like that. Apropos word. But something like that, they probably by the time you've got to do it. But back you used to have to drink a whole bunch of disgusting liquid and all that. Now it's just some pills. So it's really, dude, it's really not bad. So I talked about it at the beginning of the show. I encourage everybody, once you get to 50, please go do it. Don't do what I did. I got lucky. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, it's not so much the procedure, because the procedure is a joke and all that. The worst part, Cam, is really your mind, because for the 24 hours, 36 hours leading up to it, your mind is screwing with you constantly. Like, what if I have this? What if I have that? Oh my God. What if I find out? And that's really the worst part, because human nature is, when you're going to go see the doctor, you just think the worst things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's the sad part. All right. So we had some OTAs yesterday.
We did.
I was telling Omar this, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but I have a lot of admiration for Austin Jackson, because it is really easy to give up when you have had some failure, the injuries, the year that coming out of the draft, he had to give bone marrow. He couldn't practice. His strength wasn't even at 100%, yet he sucked it up for his team and played the entire year. He had a great attitude last year, going into everything. He was starting to show you a little something in training camp, and then he gets injured, obviously. And again, yesterday, he looks fantastic. He never points fingers. He never makes excuses. Sometimes we've seen the Preston Williams of the world.
Yep.
That at times they are aloof and they're blaming everything else except looking inward. And I just admire the fact that there is no give up in this young man, and the attitude he had for, facing the media, I thought was beautiful. And if you're going to succeed in life after struggles and failures, I tell you, use the example of Austin Jackson. That's all I got to say.
One of the things just kind of remember about Austin Jackson is remember what he had to do to, when he got into the league. He gave up bone marrow for his sister which like weakened him tremendously, had him lose weight as he's starting his NFL journey. Like he's clearly going through a lot of adversity in his life. And so, I think a lot of times we get caught up in the football element and you start to call people out of their names and call people out of their character. And I don't think that ever should be the case for Austin. Now, the reality is he hasn't played well or stayed healthy throughout his career. And so that's the black and white part of it, is that he hasn't lived up so far to his draft status as a middle first round pick. But the thing about the NFL is it can change in an instance. And so if he goes out here and has a great fifth season, solidifies that right tackle spot, we're talking about a contract extension for the guy where he's making big money. And if he doesn't, then his time in Miami is probably over. And so it's a very important year, but he has every opportunity to redeem himself. I like what he said about being angry, excited, because he is a guy who, like a lot of dudes in the league, listens to what people say about him. And I think it's cool that he embraces it. A lot of people tell you, hey, I don't hear what people say. I block it out. And most of the time it's just BS. These dudes know what is said about them. They're searching their name on social media a lot of times. It's just the reality of it. And so Austin hears it all. He's heard everything people say about him being a bust, and he's using it as fuel. And so he'll either prove everybody wrong or he'll prove them right. And so I would say, like, seeing him in OTAs, and, we're going to talk a little bit about, like, body size, some of the things I put out about Tua and some of these things here. But Austin Jackson, he looked really good. He looked really good. I know everybody's in the best shape of their life in OTAs, but he is in the best shape, it looked like to me, that I've seen him in the league. And so that always helps. He's an athletic player. If he can, maximize his potential, stay healthy. I know the Dolphins, we talked about this, really want him to win that right tackle spot. Yeah. And it's set up for him to have success this year. And so I hope it works out. He is a good guy. I was chatting with him yesterday after practice. We were laughing about some things. He said, I look like an NFL player size-wise. And I told him I couldn't.
He looks like a defensive end.
Yeah. He said, I did. He said, I look like an NFL player when we were talking. And I said, I couldn't even give you two plays. Don't let it fool you. And so we had a little fun there, but he's I want to see him have success. But just like a couple other dudes on this team, it's a prove it year. We can say a lot about him, but he's got to show it. And I think it would be a good story though if he could get his redemption this year.
I think his redemption and his contract would be a lot different than this guy's. And I'm going to go Raekwon Davis.
Okay, yeah.
And Raekwon Davis, I think, has just kind of been an underachiever, period. Mm-hmm. And he was a high draft pick. And so what happens if Raekwon Davis has a great year and starts to blow shit up like he's supposed to kind of do at times? I'm not asking for 10 sacks. I know he's not going to do that. But you can't have 1.5 sacks in 3 years. You can't average half a sack a year and 31 tackles. You got to do a little bit more. You got to blow some stuff up, like in that what was it, a field goal that he blew up, or the punt? I forgot which one it was on special teams.
Probably field goal.
It was a field goal, and he blew that shit up, and it was a huge play in the game. And there aren't enough of those moments with Raekwon. Whereas with Austin Jackson, I feel like he's had a lot of bad luck. And things haven't gone his way, whereas I think if he plays well, I might feel more comfortable giving him the long-term contract, whereas you've been in this league long enough to know there are some guys that kind of turn it up on their contract year. And then you wonder, dude, am I just giving this guy the money because he tried in his final year to be the guy we needed him to be, but couldn't do it the other years?
Right.
So would you be more nervous about giving Raekwon Davis a long-term contract after a 1 year finally broken through type of season?
Yeah, so Raekwon Davis is interesting because I'm with you. I don't think he's probably lived up to his draft status, but he's also probably flown under the radar more than Austin Jackson or even a Liam Eichenberg. The offensive line's got a lot more criticism than the defensive line. And so because of that, Raekwon Davis has probably just been, he hasn't got the ire of fans the way that Austin Jackson or Liam Eichenberg have, even from media. And so I think that this was a very key year from him because I thought there was a chance they could sign or draft a defensive tackle to try to replace him. He has not been at the level where you could say, hey, he should be assured a starting job going into the season, at least from what I've seen. But looking at the roster, they don't really have any strong competition for him. He plays more of a nose tackle role. So he's going to play a 40 to 50% of the snaps type play. He's not going to be 100% of the snaps, close to like Christian Wilkins type player. And because of his position, because he's that big kind of gap plugger, he's never going to have the sack numbers. But at the same time, he's got to be a guy that people have to deal with, that you have to send more than one offensive lineman to neutralize. And he hasn't consistently been that guy. And so you got to push him. You got, hopefully you look at a system where you got Vic Fangio in there and maybe that gets more out of him. But yeah, at this point, I wouldn't feel comfortable giving a significant guarantee commitment to Raekwon, given what he's done. But who knows? Maybe he puts up that year this year that makes it worthwhile reconsidering. But for me, that's a spot we talk about potential additions. I'm still a little worried about the depth, not necessarily in the 3-tech, 5-tech department, but like John Jenkins played a very key role on this team, and John Jenkins left to go to the Raiders. There isn't anybody on that roster other than maybe some undrafted free agents to really replace him. And so you're counting on Raekwon to do a lot. And I would want to go get a vet to at least be the backup, but even more maybe to compete with Raekwon, to maybe add a little bit more fire under the belly, at least for me.
All right, we'll wrap it up with this. 2 things from OTAs. Give me something that you thought was pleasantly surprising. And I won't say anything disappointing because it's way too early for that shit, but a little head scratching.
I'll start with the obvious thing, and we talk a lot about Tua in the offense, right? And I talked about this a little bit on NFL Network. Tua looks bigger, and in fact, I found out he's gained several pounds this offseason. He's training with Nick Hicks out there for him, and wait a
minute, but Florio says he weighs 195 pounds.
He does not weigh 195. He weighs way more than that now. I'm telling you that. I'm not going to say what his exact weight is, but I know he's gained a lot of weight. And I think you can see it.
You saw it here.
Yeah, you can see it. You can see it, and his calves are huge. You can see it in his core as well.
He always had a good lower half.
Lower body. Yeah, he's always been big lower body, but I think he looks even bigger. And so people say, okay, well, what does that matter, right? Well, one, you look at a guy who's been injured in his past. If you got more bulk, ideally that protects you from some of the cushioning that you may need to take on some of these hits. Maybe it doesn't save you from all the head hits, but maybe it helps you. Yeah, exactly. Russell Wilson, great point. Russell Wilson was probably, I think, about 205 maybe when he came out of the combine. And I think right now he's probably closer to 230. And he got up to 215, 220 pretty quickly in his career. And so it also ideally helps you. People criticize Tua's arm strength sometimes. If you get stronger, which he has, maybe it gives you a little bit more zip on that ball. And he also has a new helmet. He's rocking a new helmet, as some people saw on OTAs. We talk a lot about the concussions. He's clearly trying something new out to try to minimize that. McDaniel talking about the jiu-jitsu and them using that in their practices because they feel like it'll be a big help, not only for Tua, but all the quarterbacks. And then just kind of seeing some of the it's just OTAs, but just seeing some of the flow of how they are doing the offense, a lot of quick drop backs for Tua, even quicker than we saw last year early in this stage. And then the other thing I probably would say that stood out as a positive is Devon Achane. It's like I said, I don't want to give overhype guys in May, but it stands out to me when you hear veteran teammates rave about him. Jeff Wilson saying that boy is good, and Waddle saying stay tuned. These are dudes who you respect on the team saying this about rookies. Usually rookies have to earn their respect, and clearly he's already earning it. And so that's another toy for Mike McDaniel. I think that's something to be excited about.
I think what we take for granted with A-Chain, and I don't think we did. Have you watched Air yet?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's breaking down the play.
Yeah.
Right. And he turns to the guy and says, Perkins is on the court. There's a couple stars on the court. And Dean designs the play for MJ. not for any of the other stars that are established on the team.
Yeah.
And by the way, which is, I watched that play live, okay?
Yep.
And since that moment, I never thought of it that way until that freaking movie, by the way, okay?
Yeah.
I never really thought of it that way until the movie. But I'm going to spin it to A-Chain, okay? And please don't kill me. I'm not trying to tie the two players. But my point is, Dean thought so much of Michael and his maturity and how much he thought of him at that point that he was going to put him in a position to have a heavy responsibility in a key moment in a game. Well, did you watch Texas A&M? They thought he was mature enough, professional enough, tough enough that they used him all over the damn place.
Right.
They felt great when he had the ball in his hands.
Yep.
So that tells me a lot from the coaching staff what they feel about that player. And that's, I think, the Dolphins not only saw the talent, they also saw the amount of responsibility they laid on A-Chain in Texas A&M, and they said, this is the kind of guy we want, because we do this to Waddle 3 years ago when we made him a possession guy. We did it to Tyreek Hill last year. You know, if Wilson and Mostert have to carry the load, they will carry the load. You know, so they want players that are able to shine in those kind of moments. And I think that's part of what I think that's the vibe he also gives to those veteran players.
Absolutely.
That this isn't just look. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. He adds added juice to an offense that already has all the juice, right? And so it gives defenses another thing to think about. We talked about it after he's drafted. Because of his size, he's probably never going to be a 25 to 30 touch guy. But if your 10 to 15 touches are dangerous, like touchdown threat every time I'm on the field, that makes your offense so much more dynamic. And I'm telling you, I think that even just getting one glimpse of him, I think that he's going to be a player they trust to play in multiple roles. I wouldn't be surprised if you see him put in the slot, put out wide at wide receiver at times, used in the backfield and single back or double back. You can do a lot.
He's going to get 5 to 10 carries.
Right. You could use him in motion. You can use him in fly sweep. So, like, he can be just a playmaker for you in that respect. And so not putting too much on his plate too early, but also knowing that he could be a game changer. And your second question was just kind of something maybe that, maybe it's a question. I mean, we've talked a lot about the offensive line, and you know how I feel about that being a concern. So I'll go a different direction because you can't really tell a lot about the offensive line until the pads are on. I'm a little concerned about the inside linebacker depth. I reported earlier this week Andrew Van Ginkel is going to be playing some inside linebacker. Mike McDaniel confirmed that, and we can't tell you what we saw out in practice, but it wasn't a surprise what we saw out in practice, given what I reported. And so you're going to, from what I understand, you're still going to have David Long and Jerome Baker as your starters, but you're going to have Andrew Van Ginkel working in with the second team. Van Ginkel's getting him more play time is good, but he's also learning a position that he hasn't played really since probably.
You see any more meat on Baker?
You said what?
You see any more?
Not anything noticeable. I didn't see him up close, but from a distance.
He's not a middle linebacker. He's not a middle linebacker.
I think you are missing that thumper. Like I know Landon Roberts will have mixed reviews in the fan base because he's not the best coverage. He's not the best coverage. Right. He's not his skill set. But what he was good at was the short yardage, get me in 3rd and short, 4th and goal, or get me in a assignment that I feel comfortable with, right? You get me on a big bulking tight end, or get me on somebody that is reasonable, he will handle it.
He'll knock your nuts to your socks.
Exactly. And so I'm worried that they don't have that guy. I know it's a new modern NFL and you have a lot more run speed coverage guys, but you're still going to need a guy when a team's trying to run the 4-minute drill down your throat, who is going to stop them? And I just don't know if there's that guy right now on this team. Jerome Baker is a good player. David Long is a good player, but can those guys be there? And can those guys stay healthy throughout the year to do that? Duke Riley, to me, is a really good 4th linebacker and special teams player. I don't know if I want him to be the first linebacker off the bench if somebody gets hurt. Intervingle has flashed a lot, but can he handle the first linebacker off the bench, inside linebacker off the bench responsibilities? The Dolphins clearly hope so. And Shannon Tyndall, I know he's a 3rd-round pick, but I'm just going to keep it real. He hasn't shown anything to give the Dolphins confidence that he can fill any significant play time as of yet. He's got a lot of time in the offseason to do that. But as of now, I don't know that you can go into the season planning for a huge role for him until he proves to you that he can handle it.
And now that you've changed coordinators, I don't even know if he likes him. I don't know if he feels he fits his system now too. And that's a whole different ball. He's always had big linebackers.
Yeah.
In all his places where he's gone, he doesn't have big linebackers in the
I think all the backers are going to be 235 or under. I don't know what Baker lines up at, but long is under 230. Even the guy they signed as an undrafted free agent, who I like a lot, Aubrey Miller from Jackson State. He's a 230-pound backer. He's probably your best, to me, like on paper, thumper. But he's an undrafted rookie who we don't even know if he's going to make the team. And so to me, that is a little bit of a concern at this stage of the offseason. Maybe not the starters, but maybe more the depth in the specific role that you may be missing there.
Yeah, I'm with you there. All right, what are you working on the NFL Network so folks can check you out this week?
Yeah, did some TV last night. Talked a lot of Dolphins. I will be back on tomorrow night. We're right now our afternoon show is not on, so we're just doing a lot of morning and night shows. And so I'll be back on tomorrow talking some ball, and then I'll be back next week for OTAs. I'll be out there and also for the following week for mandatory minicamp. So you'll get some good Dolphins coverage from me for the next couple weeks. And then I'll travel. Dolphins are finished June 8th. They actually are one of the earliest teams. They want to give their players a little longer break, which I think is a good idea for Mike McDaniel. And then the following week is when most teams have mini camp. I'll go to a couple mini camps across the league, and then we have our summer break for about five-ish weeks, and before training camp gears up. So
looking forward to it. All right, Cam. Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe, and catch him twice a week here doing his thing. The KSDT CPA Miami Dolphins and NFL report. Appreciate you, Cam. We'll catch up later on in the week.
All right, see you, man.
Thank you, sir. There you go. And don't forget, if you didn't do your taxes yet, maybe you're a little nervous. And by the way, I heard, the government is going to go after. That's one of the reasons why they hired a lot of extra agents. They're going to go after people that have not filed for the last few years. And that's a lot of people. And listen, you fall into tough times. Maybe you lose a little bit of your responsibilities here or there. Life is tough. You get walloped by all kinds of things, and then you can't do it, or you forgot to do it, or whatever. But you can still fix that, okay? Because they're going to come after you one way or another. There's a QR code right there. You can use it. Put your camera up there, your phone. Connect with the people at KSDT CPAs. Doesn't matter where you're at. You can do this all by phone. All right? Just tell them that Big O sent you. They'll take care of you, man. And if you didn't file yet, maybe they can get you an extension. If you didn't file the year before, or the year before that, or 3 years ago, and you want to start catching up here, folks, call the people at KSDT CPAs. Don't do it yourself. Have a professional do it so they can set you up and take care of you and guide you the right way so they can save you money. That's the thing, that in the long run, you're going to save a lot of money because of the advice you're going to get. From advisory to tax to assurance, they do it all. Personal, business, you name it. KSDT CPA. Use that QR code and tell them that Big O sent you.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.